It's another edition of Madden Benz Unfiltered. To a degree, a sad episode of Madden Benz Unfiltered. First and foremost, they caught the alligator in the Kiski River, so I don't know what we're going to talk about there anymore. And Mark, I don't know what we're going to talk about anymore when it comes to hockey.
No, hold it. Why'd they catch him? Why doesn't he have a right to be in the Kiski River?
Because apparently it's not a place where that alligator would normally be. They think he was like set free by somebody who had too many alligators. It's not his natural environment or habitat, and he's a threat to other people and other parts of the ecosystem.
That's hard to believe, Tim, because you can never have too many alligators.
So they caught him. He's a whopper, and they'll find a new place for him to live. And Erik Karlsson is coming to Pittsburgh. We won't have that to talk about anymore. Finally, it's happened. So a shark comes to Pittsburgh and a gator leaves the Kiski River.
Well, with the Karlsson deal, it's not so much that he came to Pittsburgh because that felt inevitable. It really did. It was discussed for so long. He had leverage. He wanted to leave San Jose, and most likely Pittsburgh was his first preference. But what they foisted off to bring him in, they absolved the Penguins of all of Ron Hextall's sins. They got rid of Petrie, Rutta, Granlund, DeSmith. And somehow when the dust had settled, all they'd given up really is the first and second round draft pick. And they gained $3 million in cap space. I have often joked on my show about how fans want to trade all our good players for all their bad players. Excuse me, vice versa. Bad players for good players. And that actually happened, except one good player, one real good player. I can't believe Kyle Dubas pulled it off. It's amazing.
Well, he's speaking today, Mark, at noon up in Cranberry. And one thing I want to figure out from how this deal went down is how they were able to get Montreal to be the wheel team for Jeff Petrie. To me, that's the most phenomenal part about this. How did that come to pass?
Here's the theory I've heard about it. He had a 15-team no-trade clause, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm assuming that he eliminated the 15 teams geographically furthest from Michigan where he lives. And Montreal was not one of those.
Yeah, that's the theory that I heard as well. We talked about that on the podcast. And I'm guessing then the big thing for him was just how much of an issue it was to get back and forth across the border during COVID that set him into a tizzy at the end with Montreal there. I don't know.
No, because his wife was mad because, the parents couldn't get back and forth to help with the kids. Because nobody ever raised their own kids before. And, God forbid they should take the millions he makes and hire someone to help.
Well, getting them to be the wheel teams.
One thing about the departure of Mrs. Petrie, I can tell you, the loading dock parking lot at PPG Paints Arena will be a lot quieter.
Oh, I didn't know that was an issue. Do you care to elaborate?
Oh, it wasn't an issue. It was just a lot of noise.
Oh, okay. All right. But not only unloading his contract, but also getting Montreal to be able to facilitate the deal. If you look at the San Jose side of this, Mark, they're actually, I believe they're bringing on more salary than what they had in Karlsson in the first place. They're doing this more for down the road after this year.
Well, San Jose, not just after this year either. They're going to ride out like the Granlund contract, some of the stuff they took on, and just make a fresh start in a couple years. I think that's their general outlook.
Yeah, and by the way, Petrie probably can and probably may very well be spun to somebody else, maybe by the time people are seeing this. So it's not necessarily a done deal that he's going back to Montreal, but even to have that be a risk if they can't figure a way to pull it off, then, the potential of him playing again there is kind of surprising to me.
Well, no, he's not the worst player ever. I think he would have had a better year this year had he stayed. But yeah, he just, that contract, given what you got for him and given that you gave it away, like I said, I just can't believe he made the deal. Here we are over 24 hours later. When I first heard the deal, I thought it was a joke. I thought I was being ribbed.
Regarding the angle of the remaining minutes that would exist on the right side, I thought you made an interesting point. We can elaborate on here a little bit more about how the defensive minutes might be split up. Because honestly, Mark, you're looking at 50 minutes, aren't you, between Karlsson and Letang on an average night?
Between 46 and 50.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods. Like, in a weird way, like Chad Ruedel is a sneaky winner in this because he's like now the next potential right-sided defenseman, and it's the perfect niche for him because they don't want to have to play him more than like 10 minutes a game.
For what he'll be asked to do, it's no problem. Now, if somebody gets hurt, out of Karlsson and Letang, it's a disaster. But we were already kind of at that point anyway.
What do they do now? Because I believe they're a minimal amount over the cap. It's something like $79,000 or something like that.
They should give that money to me.
Yeah. Okay. After they do that, do they have a way to get Tatar or somebody else like that on the roster?
I don't know what the ramifications would be of putting Gensel on LTIR. I have heard they're planning on asking a few guys without contracts to camp on a PTO. The name Zach Parisi has come up, from what I understand.
Oh, boy, that's only about 10 years too late, huh?
Yeah, and he's a total dink. I wouldn't want him in that dressing room. Ask Billy Guerin about him. But yeah, I think there's probably still some slight room for maneuverability, or will become.
How do you think Karlsson will mesh in terms of personality? How do you think the divvying up the power play will go with Letang? I mean, there was a lot of happy talk about how much he wanted to come here. You expecting that to manifest, or will there be some
frustration? He's a perfect fit, okay? He's fast, he's skilled. He plays exactly the way the Penguins play. Perfect fit for him, perfect fit for the team. I think he and Letang are co-number ones. Whether that gets twitchy, I don't know. I don't think it will with Letang. I don't know Karlsson to say whether or not. The power play is the most intriguing thing because he's one of the best power play point men in recent history. He's the first true point man they've had up top since Gonchar. Now, how they use that, how they form around Karlsson, I do not know. I can tell you how I'd do it. I would put Karlsson up top, Crosby on the right half wall. You'd have two of the best playmakers in hockey in playmaking positions. But I just don't think they're going to do that because that would require Gino playing underneath or on the left half wall, which eliminates Letang from the power play. And I know a deal was made with Letang before Karlsson came here that Letang would stay on the power play. I'm certain of that. Sid's wasted underneath on the power play, at least as much as you can waste Sidney Crosby. And I know about his touch in tight, his deflections, his rebounds, but he doesn't get enough touches on the puck on the power play because he plays down low. And might I add, he loses 10 points a year not being on the half wall because those two half walls and up top, they're rotation spots. The puck just goes through there organically and you accidentally get points.
Well, Mark, I go so far as to suggest that when it comes to the power play, they don't have a choice but to go with two defensemen because, frankly, they don't have four worthy forwards right now.
Well, when everyone's healthy, when Jake's healthy, yeah, they could with like Gensel, Raquel, Malkin, and Crosby. But I think Letang's a good choice to play that left half wall. Gino's the guy who gets lost in the shuffle if you do it the right way, and you can't lose him in the shuffle.
I've heard one suggestion. What about Phil Kessel? What about bringing him back for a short stint while Gensel's on LTIR or something like that?
Well, here's the problem with that. Would you play him on the left half wall on the power play?
Because then you just eliminate the whole process of putting Letang out there, the spot for Letang.
Right, and if he doesn't play left half wall on the power play, there's no point having him. That's why he, barely played in Vegas and was a healthy scratch in the playoffs. Also, if you bring him on the team, the minute Jake's healthy, then you have to go through the Shakespeare in the Park of ending his consecutive game streak.
No, yeah, that's true too. But then again, if he comes back and does it here, it'll be looked upon as, another celebration of it. You know what I mean?
Tim, there is no way Sully would bench him to end that streak. No way.
Yeah, because the first thing you think of is Phil Kessel, traditional fourth liner, a real grind guy, right?
Yeah, I ordinarily say it doesn't matter who's on the fourth line, but I will say not him.
Well, no, actually, you did say that quite a bit. We got into this on the podcast, and this kind of dovetails with the point about how Sullivan is going to coach things moving forward. I think it's a legit point about how you view the bottom of the roster now, and if you're going to do the whole mentality of, and this is how I frame the conversation, to thine own self be true, that's exactly what this move is about. getting Erik Karlsson, that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying we are putting all of our chips into the theory of who we are. Part of that theory then has to be that fourth line ain't getting a lot of time, and that last pair ain't getting any time. And you know what? That second power play unit.
It doesn't matter who they are now.
Yeah, and that second power play unit might average about 10 to 15 seconds per power play.
Which is why I'm already saying for the fourth liner, if they don't have one already, because I've not checked all the stats of the new guys, they need a shootout specialist. They need someone to get those points.
Or like you said, now's the perfect time if they feel like it to get themselves a Ryan Reeves type.
Well, there's none of those available.
No, yeah. And well, now that we know that Tom Wilson's staying in Washington, they might feel more of a need, but I don't think there's a glaring guy right now. No.
No, there's no point in doing that. I've had my fantasy that they become a trapping team based on score and situation or opponent, and that's not going to happen now. I mean, and that's fine. They have committed to what they are, and I can't fault that.
I was getting into it with somebody on Twitter last night. Somebody was ripping me because I didn't bring up Tristan Jarry in regards to this move with Karlsson. I just think that's shoehorning in the conversation. But is he going to be exposed too much with the defense corps being what it is, do you think?
Yes, he will. And any goalie would be.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not just Jarry.
Good.
How do you see the...
Now we find out how good he really is.
Yeah, if he's worth the contract, because he is going to be exposed. And again, this is going back to that point, who they are. They are doubling down on we will score more, but they're also saying we don't care if we make more mistakes at the blue line and pinch more and take more chances and ignore scoring situations.
I'm old enough to remember Tom Barrasso being left out to dry because everybody wanted their points back in the 90s, and the bench telling him to shut up.
Was
during the game?
Yeah,
that for sure happened.
And I think it might happen during this stretch as well for Jarry, although Tom Barrasso was worth listening to more than Jarry has been. That's for sure.
Jarry's not going to complain like Barrasso either, at least not on the ice.
DeSmith gone, so who's the second goalie, do you think?
Nedeljkovic, for sure.
For sure, yeah?
Yeah.
I actually think he's going to be an upgrade. I kind of like him. I like the idea of him being the second
guy. He led the
guy.
league in everything his rookie year. I mean, albeit in a relatively small amount of games, like 29 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, there were some people who were lobbying for him to be the guy instead of Jarry. I've heard that name brought up as a guy that people wanted to see start.
I wouldn't rule out him getting a run of games if Jarry falters.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that potential could exist for the reasons that we just brought up. Now, what about Graves and Pettersson? Are those guys capable of logging the minutes on the left side with Karlsson and Letang eating up as much as they're going to eat up? Will those guys get exposed with too much ice time is what I'm asking.
Tim, like I said in the podcast, it won't be like that. Like, just because Letang and Karlsson play 46 to 50 minutes combined doesn't mean those two will. You will see Karlsson and Letang take shifts with POJ. So I don't think that their durability is a factor. Can they cover up for the gambling that Karlsson and Letang do? I hope so. And one thing I want to say, Letang doesn't gamble as much as we think he does. He doesn't get caught up ice as much as we think he does. Okay? Erik Karlsson does and more. Okay? So if you think Letang provided anxious moments, you've not seen anything yet.
That's part of the reason why when we discussed this yesterday, you think the spotlight's really on Sullivan now, right?
Not about the spotlight. I think there's certain things he has to adjust to.
Like what?
Well, the power play. But I can guarantee what the power play is going to be on opening night. Karlsson, Letang and Malkin on the half walls, Sid and somebody else underneath, probably Raquel.
I would think it'd be Raquel.
Even though Raquel would be a better fit on the left half wall. We have a bunch of half wall guys is what we got.
With Gensel being out, what's this?
I don't count out Riley Smith either for that last guy in the power play because he's good at puck retrieval.
What'd you think about the whole thing with Gensel getting injured, by the way? I mean, are they doing cloak and dagger, smoke and mirrors here? I mean, did the guy just get hurt in the Beauty League? And if so, why are they going through the song and dance surrounding it?
I don't know.
I mean, I think any sort of, well, he was injured before and, we were trying to see if he got better. Like, if that's all made up, I wouldn't know why they're going through the cloak and dagger stuff because, like, these you call them glorified beer leagues, they're all over the place. Like, there's 8 NHLers up in Cranberry right now working out. This is how they
well,
work
yeah,
out.
but Tim, they're not playing in a league. They're not playing in games. They're playing pickup and skating at Cranberry. That's way different. Okay, in a league, you're playing a game. If you feel a twinge, you're not going to skate right off. You know what I mean? The game's not going to stop either to allow you to skate right off.
Oh, I thought the guys in Cranberry were doing that GOAT League. Does that not exist anymore? Did that die with COVID or?
I don't think that was ever anything more than pickup, Tim.
Okay. All right.
I think they might have called it that by way of self-aggrandizing. But yeah, I if the Penguins say he didn't get hurt in the Beauty League, okay. But I was told they let him play that game Tuesday to test out the ankle. If that's true, and that I don't believe, that's a bold-faced lie. Okay? Because why would you have him tested in something you're not directly supervising? Right?
That's my point. I mean, like it is such a common thing for these guys to play in these leagues in the offseason.
It's very fishy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like this was a secret that he had done it in the past. He's been doing it for years.
Oh, that whole league is NHL guys and Division I guys and minor league guys.
Yeah, exactly. So where I'm going with it is,
let me tell you something. Those guys, especially the guys who are like Minnesota connected, like Gensel, they think that league's a big deal.
Okay, well that might
not
be a
like
little bit...
having to win it or compete, but to play in it. It's the fun thing of the summer.
Okay, that's that might be a little silly, but my premise is that if he got hurt in it, it's not that much bigger than like, a player for the Pirates getting hurt in the Arizona Fall League, or, a player for the Steelers tearing an Achilles because he's working out with Kenny Pickett on the side in Florida. Like to me, like this is their way of working.
To me, it's way different. Anytime you have a competitive element to it, it's different.
All right.
No matter how flimsy that competitive element may be.
Eric asked, and we probably should clarify this. I read the first rounder that Pittsburgh gave up as a top 10 protected pick. Can you explain what that means? Is a top 10 pick no matter how they finish?
No. If the Penguins finish low enough to merit a top 10 pick, they keep the pick and
it rolls over.
It rolls over to the next year, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just want to clarify that. I happened to see that come up in our feed, and I forgot to have referenced that. But, yeah, that is the case, which is a pretty good deal. So if it blows up in their face, at least they keep their top 10 guy, which is even better.
And it should be noted, Tim, this offers no guarantees, just opportunities.
Hey, a couple things before we get to more comments, because we've talked exclusively about the Penguins so far. The Steelers actually do have a preseason game coming up. The next time you and I speak, Mark, we'll actually have football to talk about. As phony as it may be in the preseason, it'll be something. In particular, what are you looking forward to seeing if Kenny Pickett doesn't play very much? I know you think that he should. So beyond that, what interests you the most?
Nothing. I mean, if it sounds to me like the exhibitions aren't going to really challenge anything, anybody. Like I would play Pickett a half in each exhibition game, but they're not going to do that. So whatever.
I want to see, regardless who the quarterback is, because I imagine George Pickens will play a little bit, how they plan to use him besides just streaks down the sideline. That's got to get better. That's got to improve.
Yeah, they got to use the whole field with Pickens.
And I want to see how the tight ends are manipulated in all this, too, because that's become sort of it's an interesting position, but maybe a bloated position, too, especially with how they consider Connor Hayward since they've been pumping the ball to him so much in training camp.
Yeah. See, I think stuff like that. And what's the thing they're doing with Kendrick Green now? He's like a fullback.
Fullback, yeah.
That's a waste of time.
It's
a waste of time. They're never going to use it. Connor Hayward might touch the ball 3 times the whole season. It's just blah, blah, blah. It's something for the fans to latch onto, but it's dumb.
How about the soccer?
Let me tell you something. If you think Connor Hayward or Kendrick Green at fullback is going to be why the Steelers catch up to Cincinnati? Come on.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that sort of goes back to what Kyle Brandt said. I don't know if you played that soundbite on your show, Mark, but Kyle Brandt was going off about how much improved he thought the Steelers were going to be. They're going to be one of the 7 teams that makes the playoffs, so forth and so on. Well,
maybe they will.
I think it's possible. My pick is 10-7, and they get in as the 7th seed. So I'm not arguing with his premise. The enthusiasm with which he said it and the security that he's making the pick to me is a bigger deal, because if you're that secure in the Steelers being a wild card team, then you must assume they're going to be like an 11-win team, because you've needed 10 wins at least in 4 of the last 6 seasons to get in. And I don't think it is by far a reach, let alone a lock, that they are going to be an 11-win team. You know what I mean? Like, there's a huge jump
They're
between
not going to be an 11-win team.
Between 9 wins last year for this team and 11 wins this upcoming year is a bigger jump than just 2 wins in the standings. Because honestly, they weren't a 9-win team last year. They fluked their way into that.
And their division is loaded and their conference is loaded. Everybody wants to just look at the Steelers as a standalone enterprise, that they've got better here, they've got better there. You know, Pickett's going to make this big jump, you know, blah, blah, blah. But the conference is loaded. Those teams didn't all get worse.
Well, it's like any other business. It's like any other business.
Quarterbacks are joining the conference. Look at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, my God.
You said it. You made the business analogy. We forget that the business is affected by the marketplace, and the marketplace right now is full on supply from the AFC. There's lots of AFC supply out there to get into. And again, it's not 7 spots. Everybody keeps saying, oh, it's 1 of 7 spots. No, it's not. They're not eligible to win the other 3 divisions. It's 1 of 4.
Right. They would win. No, it's 1 of 3, Tim.
Well, theoretically they could win the AFC North.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. They could win the AFC South and finish last in the AFC North.
They won the NFC South last year, and what good did that do them?
No, AFC South.
No, I'm joking. They went 4-0 against the NFC South.
Right. So, you know, and that's just tough tookers. That's how it goes.
Before we get some comments here, Mark, 2 other things. First of which, the U.S. women's soccer team losing in the manner that it did. What were your thoughts on that?
They kept too many old women around. You know, they had 10 people, 30 or over, I think it was. Alex Morgan is washed up, and she still played a key role. I'm not going to, you know, complain too much about Megan Rapinoe and her role, because it wasn't very big, although she did miss that crucial penalty. Alexei Lalas is under big fire, Tim. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, you told me what he said. I didn't see the blowback on it. Is he catching
he's put a tweet out where he doubled and tripled down, talking about what a problem it was. But it is a problem. That team has a problem when half the country celebrates its losing. That's a problem. And they talk about growing the game. That doesn't grow the game when they polarize. And besides them getting more money, and boy, ain't that America. What have they accomplished socially? What have they accomplished with their agendas? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
How about the Pirates? That's the other topic. Speaking of accomplishing nothing, they got the Braves, by the way, this week, the best team in baseball. Be interested to see how that goes for the 3 games over at PNC Park. But Ben Cherington said 3 times after the trade deadline that they want to start winning here next year. Well, there's 2 ways for that to happen. Bob Nutting actually spending and Cherington getting the right guys. How much faith do you have in either of those things happening?
None.
Right.
None. I mean, if there's one thing that the Penguins trading for Karlsson emphasized, is that they try to win. The Steelers try to win. The Pirates don't try to win. They're not trying to win. There's no commitment to winning. Why would anybody say that? Why would anybody believe a word they say?
No, I didn't believe any of it. I thought it was just sort of blah, blah, blah to, you know, patch over the fact that they were dealing veterans and trying to make Keller happy and make Bednar happy.
Tim, how come we don't get any comments anymore? Have I chased everybody away just like the radio show?
No, we've got some comments here. In fact, let me see. Let's get to Richard. Dubas being able to get rid of 4 deadweight contracts all at once makes a trade an instant win for the Penguins.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better. And not only that, they want to play a fast game. They want to be a fast team, right?
Yes.
Everybody they got rid of was slow.
They got rid of, they did, because Petrie can't skate with the pace that they want on the blue line. Granlund certainly can't either. You know, I kind of forgot about how hot of a prospect Legare was before I read this. I hadn't thought about him in a while. And Mr. Smith was never going to be more than just an okay backup goalie. They didn't give up anything.
Yeah, exactly.
A first-round pick. They gave up the first-round pick. But you know what? Again, to thine own self be true. If they were on the playoff bubble,
that pick isn't relevant to this team.
They would have traded that pick anyway for a lesser player than Erik Karlsson in March. Guaranteed. Right. They would have figured out a way, because they weren't going to be out of it. They weren't going to be eliminated from the playoffs by the time it was buy or sell time in March. They would have thought they were still in it, and they would have spent that first-round pick anyway.
Right. I couldn't agree more.
Alex says, if the Pens stink with Karlsson and that pick ends up being a top 10, the Pens keep it. Yeah, that goes back to our conversation before.
Right.
He added one other thing. Has TJ thrown a fit behind closed doors that they didn't bring Derek back?
Not that I know of, and I would know.
I haven't heard that yet. And kind of to
Derek
your point,
served his purpose. He was on the team when they got TJ to sign his long-term contract.
Well, now they've got Green, and I guess that fixes everything. How does Jari handle the possibility of more odd man breaks with EK on defense? That comes from Alex. I think we spoke to that, and I don't think it's going to go particularly well, to be honest with you.
Well, no, I mean, we'll find out. You know, what Jari has to do now is just not worry about stats ever again. He got his long-term deal. The stats don't matter. He just has to win games.
This comes from Don. They need to go out and get Thomas Tatar. I feel like that name has been out there forever. This is like the Parisi thing. I feel like 3 times in his career, Thomas Tatar was almost a Penguin.
I'd rather have Tatar than Parisi. He'd be a better fit, but I mean, I don't know. Can you get him for minimum wage? He doesn't have a job yet, does he?
Not that I saw before the podcast. I may have missed something, but I thought he was still out there. Let's see here. This one comes to us from Pete. Is there still no news on the Rib Fest? Wait, what Rib Fest news is there supposed to be? Does this go back to our brisket reviews or what?
No, I have no news on the Rib Fest. The guy's right. I don't.
Maybe we can start making alligator at the Rib Fest. Have you ever had alligator?
No, is it good?
It's okay. It kind of tastes like they serve it with raspberry sauce down south, so it tastes like a Monte Cristo. You ever had a Monte Cristo?
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Like some people put raspberry sauce on it. That's what gator tastes like.
It says here the Rib Fest schedule has not been announced yet, Tim. There we go.
Justin says, how does LTIR work? When Gensel comes back, does his $6 million hit come back with him? Wouldn't that prevent them from making another signing like Tatar? Well, if they were to bring him back and they had Tatar on the roster, they would have had to figure out how to clear the extra cap space. Yes, the difference is always going to have to come out in the wash.
Yeah, because the LTIR money's prorated.
Right.
You know, if he's out for a fraction of the season, that fraction comes off the cap.
Mark says, how do the centers line up on the team now? Do we need a better third-line center?
Yes. Yes, and my idea for that they won't do, which is Drew O'Connor's best position is center.
Mm-hmm.
I would put him there, but they won't.
I got another football one that had come in here. Let's see. Something about whether or not Kenny Pickett is going to play. Calvin says, will Pickett play at all on Friday? We'll find out. I think Tomlin speaks on Wednesday up there this week. I imagine he's going to get – I would think he'd get a series or two. I think it's kind of stupid to not have him play at least a little bit. If you want to see the offense develop,
I would bet he plays 2 series in the entire preseason.
Then that's probably in game 2 against the Bills here then, as opposed to on the road in Tampa.
I would probably think so, but I bet that's it, which is a mistake. He needs reps. He needs to develop rhythm with the guys.
And I think there's one here. Somebody asked about the salary cap. Are they $79,000 under the cap? Sorry, they're $79,000 over the cap, or are they $3 million under? I've seen both reports. The 79 over is what
$79K over the cap. They gained $3 million in the trade. In other words, I guess they were like $3 million and $79K over before the trade.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mark, but like, hasn't Dubas kind of indicated in the past that he feels with whatever manipulation they have available to them, they're actually under right now? Like that negligible red that they're in right now is pretty easily dismissed.
Yes. Yeah, for sure it is. And we should also praise Dubas that he didn't have to buy anybody out, which would have put a drag on their cap for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing he did not have to do that. That may be the hidden and single most incredible thing about this deal.
And finally, this comes from Ba. Ben Affleck was originally going to rob PNC Park in the town, but they were only going to get 2 prospects and never-ending 5-year plan.
That's not too bad.
That's actually not
too bad. Well done, Ba.
All right, that'll do it for us. Mark,
you may hear that again.
Mark is going to be on the air today. I'm in for Mark on Tuesday because you're going to see Alice Cooper, right?
Well, Alice Cooper, Motley Crue, and Def Leppard.
Yeah, that's right, because they're going to be in Columbus.
Yeah, and I'll also be having lunch tomorrow with former Flyer R.J. Umberger of Plum, who never saw the Flyers win the Cup, but he actually was on a team that got to the conference final once and got beat by the Penguins.
Is this going to be outdoors, Mark, or is this going to be where the Blue Jackets play?
It's outdoors, which I hate.
Oh, okay, because I know you're not a fan of outdoor shows. Do you have a comfy
Yeah, but it's so close. It's so close. I'm going to Hershey for GNR Friday too.
Is this the soccer stadium they're putting it in, like the new Columbus?
No, Ohio State.
Oh, oh my God, they're at the Big House? That's a huge venue.
I don't think they're drawing a big house.
Oh, not the Big House. I'm sorry, the Horseshoe. The Horseshoe.
Well, I'd be shocked. How many does that hold for football?
It's over 100,000.
Which means for a concert it would hold like 120,000.
Depending on how they do the seating, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be shocked they get more than 30.
I would. Well, that regional maybe closer to 40 or 50 in Ohio.
Which will look minuscule in that building.
Yeah, depending. They're gonna. I don't know how they would do it. It's been a while since I've been in there. I don't know how they would lay it out, but that is a huge. I can't imagine what the sound's going to be like in that building too.
What do you mean?
Be hard, like how hard it is going to be to balance the sound at a venue that big.
Well, that's why Alice Cooper's there, Tim. By the time Motley and Def get on, it'll be balanced. Believe that's the unfortunate truth of being the opening act.
All right, Mark is going to be back today, then back again on Wednesday. I'll be in for Mark on Tuesday, and then we've got the pregame show on Friday starting at 3 o'clock in advance of Steelers versus Buccaneers down in Florida. And we're back again next week, Madden Benz Unfiltered, with actual football to talk about. This is brought to you by Trib Live every Monday on the Trib Live Facebook stream.